All right. Hey, Mayor Young, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scott Rubin. Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too. I have to change that already. I thought I had the settings dialed in. There. Now, how's that? Better?
It depends. What are you trying to change?
I'm trying to change the levels in my head, so I'm asking you if it's better, but I really just need you to talk.
I don't know. I have no idea.
All right. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, like overall, man, I can't complain. Like just to be here sitting with you and broadcasting, I mean, that's an improvement. Like I feel like this
Really?
is a
Really?
better
No
than
way.
most.
That cannot be an improvement. I refuse to believe that your life, until you get on a live stream with me, is actually worth
Well, no,
nothing.
dude.
I mean, come on.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. It's not saying it's not
No.
worth nothing, but I'm saying that this is like the feeling. Like I'm ready to get back into this. Like I love it. I love it. I just enjoy talking to you in general, and of course talking to you while we're streaming and having other people interact with us and whatnot.
I
It's always
completely
been
forgot
an amazing time.
Yeah, well, I completely forgot to open up Discord. If you're watching on, I guess we're on YouTube and we're on Twitch.
Right.
And some of you are going, yeah, where the hell have you been? Right, you got up here, you said you were going to stream and relaunch all games and save video games and save G4 and save sudo and all those things. And what happened? I just disappeared. And I'll tell you, life is hard. Life is hard.
Amen. Like adulting.
Adulting's hard. I got 2 kids, which are the greatest things in my life. I can't even believe how lucky I am with these kids. And so like everything else is kind of like, yeah, I get the kids and then everything else is like,
It should be though. That makes you a good parent.
True. I definitely have felt like through this whole parenting thing, I'm realizing, and I guess I tell too many people that maybe I shouldn't tell too many, but I realized how little time I had with my dad. My dad was working all the time, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. And, it's just interesting how much time I've spent with my kids already. And I have a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, which can be 6. I mean, I've spent more time with those kids doing stuff with them than I think I did with my dad in my whole life, which is crazy. Yeah. But, different times, different eras. And I got shipped off to summer camp where it was like, hey, it's a summer. I don't have school. Let's do some stuff as a family. Let's go. And they're like, no, you're leaving. I've got your bags packed and you're going to be going, where am I going? Day camp? What are we doing tonight? No, you're leaving for 2 months. 2 months. And by the way, it's an all boys camp. All boys camp, and it's an athletics. Like it's basically athletics, and I was not a good athlete. Like, wow, that's amazing. And by the way, it's a Jewish camp, so you're going to have to go to temple and do Jewish services on Friday nights and Saturdays. I was like, this is instead of summer vacation? Like, what is going on here?
It's like, why am I being punished?
Yeah, seriously. Like the best thing about summer camp was the All-Star game, which is in the summer, June or July or something. And for the All-Star game, you get pizzas and subs. That's the best highlight of summer camp is that we could order from the pizza place down the street. Normally there's a mess hall. You go in with a tray and it's like they bring you slop and then you get your slop and you eat your slop and then that's it. Whatever it is, right? Like it's made for 500 people, right? 400 people, whatever it is at the camp. Right. And so pizzas and subs night is like, oh my God, you can really order an actual pizza. Like you would think that, they don't have pizza night at the camp? No, there's no pizza night at the camp. How easy would it be to do pizza night? Super easy, no pizza night. So that's why it's so special. And then there would be a visiting day where your parents would come and visit you for an afternoon. It's like, hey, get out of the house. We're going to be there from 10:15 to 1:15. if you could speed it all up, we're going to go out afterwards for a nice dinner and maybe a movie. You get to see him like 2 movies. I think I saw E.T. at camp one year because it rained.
Oh, wow.
If it rains, you get to go to the movies. So like most of my summer camp was just like, I would just be praying for rain every day. I'd do that dance. I would do the dance. No, summer camp for me was special because I would take, I was not athletic, so I couldn't even compete. Like they would have like an Olympics week where, they'd have half the camp would be split into 2 teams, like color war, and you compete in everything, volleyball, basketball, soccer, hockey, every single thing. Right. But what they do for that is like, if so many kids, you have A baseball, and there's B baseball. And then like with basketball, there's only 5 kids that can play at a time, right? So you have a few backups, but you have to have A basketball, B basketball, and then C basketball, which is really just one step removed from putting the rubber things on people's heads and making sure they don't kill each other. Like literally almost, I don't want to say special needs because that word isn't even allowed anymore. But I was playing with the kids that they were like, oh, this game. Oh my God. Just throw the ball. Like it was so bad and embarrassing.
Scotty special.
Almost like special, the 3rd tier. And that's where I would end up for a lot of these athletics. So I had a tape recorder and I would bring my Dr. Demento tapes that I would have recorded from
That's
before. Cool. Yeah. So I'd listen to Dr. Demento and then I would listen to Casey Kasem, who would do, top 40, and I'd record them to a cassette. And I would just sit and that and like baseball cards. That was the only things I liked about summer camp. Just a nightmare.
Let me ask you this question though. How did that go over with the other boys that were there? Like, they're outside playing sports and stuff and you're sitting somewhere.
I would have to go and do the sports stuff. I would just, be one of those like that guy in the picture where you're just like.
So when do you listen to
I'm in right field. No one hits anything to right field. So it's like for 2 hours. So I was there, but like, my free time would just be me and my tape recorder and baseball cards. And even the baseball card, I wasn't really into baseball cards. I would gamble them. You'd flip them, like you turn them over. And if the card had a blue border and the other guy had a blue border, that was a tie, right? So it's like, I don't remember how it worked, but like you basically, if it matched, you won, or if like someone puts a green one down and then you match it with green, you get to take the cards. Because sometimes it would be red, blue, yellow, green, and then green again. Boom, you get the cards. I don't know if that's really how it worked. Oh, wow. Maybe I just got scammed out on my cards that way. Because right now, like if I think about all the cards I probably lost at camp, I could probably be like a billionaire, right? Like all those old cards that I have from the 70s. Anyway, so I don't want to send my kids to overnight camp. I think that's like, what? They're going to go make memories with other people. I want them to have memories with us. So I recently visited with my mom and I told her this, and she asked me if I was going to remind her of all the horrible things that she did as a mom during the visit. I said, well,
did you?
I'm just saying, like, I didn't really think about any of this stuff. And now that I have kids, I'm like, what the hell went on when I was a kid? This is so many questions.
Questions. But I think it is unfair though, right, to make the comparison just because it's like, like it really was a different time. Yeah. And
I live here in California now. And in California, they don't really do summer camp, right? Just like they don't really do a lot of sitting around watching other people play sports. They like go out and do stuff here in California, right? Because the weather's warm, right? I feel like on the East Coast, people are very content to sit at home and eat, drink, and watch professional athletes play their games, right? Whereas out here, people are like, hey, let's go out and swim or run or throw the ball around. And I do notice that it's different. And of course, on the East Coast, we just ship our children away for the summer and say, we'll see you about 2 weeks before school and have a good time. And I just, I think that's all that I compare that to what Trump was doing at the border with the cages, right? So it's similar. Basically, sending us to cages to live at the border of the state of Massachusetts.
Same thing.
Same
See,
thing.
no,
It's
I
very
know
equal.
that, personally, I did go to summer camp, but I was a Boy Scout. And so I think that's a little different, like Boy Scout summer camp. But it wasn't for 2 months. It was definitely
Boy
like
Scout
maybe
summer camp. Like I just hear that, and I feel like you should call a lawyer.
No, it was
No.
actually pretty fantastic. Yeah, it was like my Boy Scout, my whole scouting experience was phenomenal. Like, and it was crazy. But I will say that my troop was definitely 100% different than most Boy Scout troops. So that I think played a lot into the experience I had. Like none of the pitfalls that you hear about with these folks never happened to us.
Well, they
But
just realized that you weren't going to play ball, so they're like, "Just don't bother Lawrence. He's just going to
No.
tattle anyways."
I definitely would tell. 100%.
Exactly.
I definitely would
And
tell.
you don't think that those guys knew which ones would tell?
Well, here's the thing, though. Like my Boy Scout troop was like it was out of my school in Hawthorne, California, right? And the school I went to, St. Joseph's, it was a predominantly Latino Catholic school.
Uh-huh.
So all the Boy Scout troop is out of that school. Everybody that was a part of that troop was basically like people that they could have just as easily been a part of like a Latin gang, but they ended up being a part of the Boy Scout troop, and they treated the Boy
That's
Scout
good.
troop like a faux Latin gang, kind of. Like, but
Okay.
not for real though. Because it's like it still was the Boy Scouts, but the way that they like when we would come to like camporee and stuff like that,
Yeah.
we would totally be like it was almost like a movie. You know how you have those movies back in the 80s, and it's like you have like the inner city kids that come to like the lily white kind of. Yeah, we were those kids, and they would look at us like, what are those guys doing here? But we were awesome though. We were good at everything, like collectively. Not all of us individually, mind you, but yeah, we won a lot of awards.
Hold on, I'm throwing the link into check because I don't think anyone even knows we're live. It's like one of those things if it's free for all.
We have a couple comments.
Oh, we do?
I see Based Commodore. If you, yeah,
Based Commodore. What's going on? Hey.
Yeah. So we have at least one person watching.
There's at least one person watching. So many things have gone on since 2009. Where do we begin?
Oh, geez. Since 2009. Good. Quick catch up on the history of everything since 2009. Like, that would be hard just for gaming. Can you think about how different gaming used to be in 2009 to 2023? Oh, my God.
It's kind of crazy. There's so much going on. So why don't we just start, like, with now and try to go a little bit backwards because yesterday on the gaming side, the Xbox Developer Connect, it's like their developer showcase. And they showed off 4 games and took you inside the studio. Basically, no one needs G4 anymore. The game studios do what G4 behind the scenes, they do it now. They have in-house teams.
Yeah.
They don't need people to cover their tournaments. Riot has their own game casters and they can do it all in-house. EA has their own game casters for Madden. They get their Madden championship built right in. Like all the things that G4 was doing have either been picked up by the game companies, which makes sense. They get to control the message a little better and they can really decide what they want people to see, or streamers, which is why, we'll get to G4 next, but which is why, the streamers themselves, it's almost like you can try and have one giant bug that can try and move something, but then you get 10,000 ants that pick it up very quickly and run it off.
Yep.
And the streamers are 10,000 ants. They don't need G4. They need a microphone and a light and a camera and a platform to point it at, which is now multiple platforms. And according to Elon, he's going to do it with Twitter. He's trying to get Mr. Beast to be CEO of Twitter, maybe, to try and bring creators to Twitter as a platform for long form videos and for stuff like that. So I think
that a good idea? Mr. Beast, the CEO of Twitter?
Well, I mean, he's been able to build a pretty formidable business creating content. And what is Twitter but a content platform, right? You have news content, you have entertainment content, you have sports content. It's just content, right? And it's a feed.
That's interesting.
And really the key to Twitter's success, there's no in-house editorial, right? So the key to Twitter's success is encouraging creators to come and use the platform. And who better to encourage creators than probably the best creator or the biggest? I don't know if he's the best. He's definitely the biggest. And I'll tell you, the Mr. Beast is real because my kids, they will consume Mr. Beast videos like a funnel, like just like keep it coming. Wow. I'm like, well, how many of these can you watch? And almost like you walked in on a crack and like, what? Yeah. Well, you're like, all right, that's enough, Mr. Beast. Like, no, one more. Like, it's just a video. It'll be there. It's not even live. Come on, don't do that to us. Why? Why are you doing this? This is so wrong. And it's like, it's a video. Like in our childhood, someone walks in front of the TV and you missed it. It's over. It's not, you can't get it back. There's no rewind. So hey, don't walk in front of the TV. But now if I tell you to go pick that up, pick it up. You can hit pause. And I feel like sometimes I want to literally build a room in my house that's only 1975 technology, like a shitty TV, the shittiest game, a shitty phone. And when they're bad, I'm like, back to 75 you go. Get back in there. You come out of there when you appreciate some shit and see how much they like to live in the past, because I feel like we appreciate things that these kids just have no semblance of appreciation for. And I feel like, God, this is what they said when we were kids and we didn't believe them.
Yeah.
How is it possible that it really is just this loop of like, you're too young, you're too young, you're too young, you're too young, you're too old, you're too old, you're too old, you're too old. It's like there's no
never hit the sweet spot.
Although we are, you know who's trying to find that sweet spot? Adults who go to Disneyland. Those motherfuckers are trying to find the sweet spot of like, I'm not too old for Disneyland. I'm not too young. It's like, it's been 10 years of you wearing that hat and sweatshirt at Disneyland. You're too old. Stop doing it. Stop doing group play dates with adults to go to Disneyland. I know you've got a yearly pass, but I think that is the plateau, Lawrence Young. The adults who are Disneyland regulars who will elbow out a young mother breastfeeding their kid in line at the Mario land that's coming up at Universal. And so I just think that's really where I tap out of that generation. I'm like, you know what? I like games. I'm young. But the amount of time some of these adults are spending at theme parks is just too much.
Listen, I will say Disneyland, like, you know, I can't say that I'm the type of guy that's at Disneyland as an adult all the time.
Oh, I know, because we'd be talking about you if you were.
and that would be okay. But what I will say is this, though. Yeah. It's like when they built like Star Wars Land, right? It's kind of like that's not for the kids, like, or not just for the kids. Let's go like that. You not just for the kids, but that's like being like, when I built that drug emporium, I made a crack room. Like, yeah, of course, if you make a Star Wars room, you're going to get those adults. And I love the people who are like, oh, no, I'm not going to Disneyland. I'm a creator, so I'm just making videos that I put on YouTube. I don't really like Disneyland. Just own it. If you want to be at Disneyland, Disneyland. Yeah, like, own it. I watched, like, in the same way.
Well, they did just open the Universal. They opened Super Mario World at Universal here in L.A.
Did that actually open? I know that they were building it. I didn't know it actually opened already.
Can we pull that up? Like, can I pull up that video of that? Like, how do I do that?
So what you do?
Content present.
Yeah. Do you have it already up on a tab?
No.
No. I'm saying like in a browser.
No.
Because if you pull it up in a browser, let's see. If you pull it up in a browser, hit present. You can literally just take it like from the browser.
All right, let's do that.
So in the meantime, Kill Assist is in chat and says, I've never watched a Mr. Beast video fully.
I was very skeptical. I think I've told my Mr. Beast story before. And how do I add the YouTube thing? Share screen.
Yeah. If you go to present, and then you're going to go to share screen.
Yeah. I see.
And then you literally can just go to the tab. That's like, we'll say like Chrome tabs, I think.
Yeah, but it's not showing the tab that I have.
It's in Chrome?
Oh, no. I'm in Firefox.
Okay.
Open up a Chrome browser.
You got it. I can pull it up, though.
I got it here.
Okay.
So Mr. Beast in 2000, I want to say like 2008 or 9, like way back then, I remember, like watching this whole creator, YouTube, Ustream, live stream. It was like watching the .com bubble open in like slow motion, right? All these like sites that started to come out. And I remember when the first kind of like regular creators started to post on YouTube, because it was like, well, how are you going to build an audience? And it became this Mr. Beast was posting videos where he would, and there were a lot of people kind of doing this at the time, where the friend is like filming from this back, right? Not seen. And you're on Ventura Boulevard in LA, and you do something goofy that people think is real, and they're just filming you from a side to get your reaction to whatever is happening.
Right.
And I remember seeing him as the guy who, for a while, and I don't know if they stopped doing or whatever, but they were running up to girls who were wearing halter tops and yanking the halter tops down, and of course putting the black bar on it on YouTube. But the person who really had it done to them was horrified, right? And I don't even think they were getting releases. Like at this point, it's like, as long as we don't identify who it is, it's okay, right? And so that's always how I remembered Mr. Beast. And so I avoided anything to do with Mr. Beast for years.
Right. Which is,
and then I saw some of those videos in full, and I was like, "Wow, this is really good." No, I'm kidding. No, I heard him on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I was like, "Okay, he's slightly autistic, I think, somewhere, not fully, but he loves making content for YouTube, not just making content." He likes figuring out the algorithm for how YouTube serves up their videos, reverse engineering that, and then creating thumbnails and videos to do it. And he's gotten so good at it. He's like the guy who's so good at counting cards that says, "Come to the casino with me." He makes videos specifically saying this is how you fuck the YouTube algorithm and get more views, right? He'll just tell you how he does it. Here's a new idea on how to do it. And he's not trying to like hoard all the information, because he's like, I've cracked the code. There's nothing you can do to really take it from me. We can all do it. You're either lazy and don't want to do it, or you're going to do it, right? And so I heard him and I was like, this guy's a fucking genius, because I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people who tell me the world is so unfair. We can't get ahead. There's no way to be successful. You can't I have to get a job. It's like, do you understand the power that is at your fingertips every single day? You could sit there and choose to play Madden or watch TikToks, or you can choose to do something with that same time that maybe benefits you, right? And so I feel like he figured it out, right? Like literally it's what he's been doing since he's like 12, 13 years old. And every day I try, that's why like when my kids are watching Mr. Beast, I'm not worried about them seeing him do something bad, because he's now figured out that that's not how to get YouTube views, right? Right. You do positive things, give away a Ferrari, give away money. Like, so they get to see fun, crazy stuff that if I was his age and my dad was telling me not to watch that, I'd be like, what's your fucking problem? Like, what is wrong with this?
That's how you talk to your dad?
I would if they were telling me I couldn't watch a Mr. Beast. Like most parents would just, and I wouldn't say the F word, but I would be like, and this kind of leads into my further down topic, which is first person shooters and kids, which is, I remember having these discussions years ago, but I didn't have any skin in the game.
Right.
And so it's a lot harder without kids to just be like, come on, what's the big deal? And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the kid. I think we've talked about that. Like it's literally, if your kid can handle certain things, you let them, right? I know that there are movies like every Disney movie, somebody dies. The mother's dead, the kid's an orphan, the father's swept away in a storm. It just seems like Disney's like, we're going to have dead people because kids should have those discussions now. They shouldn't wonder about death and all that. Like we should have real conversations with them about it. So I'm all about having those real conversations with my kids. And I think that, if you are exposing them to things that they can handle, that's good. And I think kids are also pretty good. Most kids, again, you have to gauge by your kid of being like, that's a little too scary. I remember I showed them just the trailer for, I think it might have been Ghostbusters or something. And he was like, so you basically want us to have horrible nightmares. And I was like, oh.
Look, and it's interesting because you say the trailer for Ghostbusters, is it like the old school, like it was like the trailer from back in the day?
The whole thing with Sigourney Weaver's character, I'm the gatekeeper, and she's got horns and she's possessed, right? And then there's that animated, it looks like crap now, but that animated devil bull that like dives out. And we just watched with the kids. We went to the movie. I went to the movie theater for the first time in freaking, I don't even know how long. We went and saw Puss in Boots.
Okay. How'd y'all like Puss in Boots?
It was good. It was good, a good story. But again, I feel like they feel the need to terrify children. They really do.
Oh, I did hear that there was like a wolf character in there.
The wolf is sociopathic. I mean, he does that thing. That what's his name from Spider-Man did. Who's the wrestler guy who's all messed up? His face is all distorted now. He was the wrestler in the movie, The Wrestler.
You're talking Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. So Mickey Rourke in where he's in Spider-Man, where he's got the whips, the chain. Yeah. So the wolf in this movie does that. He's got double six, those like circular blades. What are they called? Skiff?
Scythe, I think is how you say it.
So he's got double them, and he walks around just dragging them, sparking them on the ground. And my daughter, a couple of times, I was like, that's a little scary. That wolf.
How'd she feel about it?
She liked the movie, but she said the wolf was a little scary.
The wolf was scary, but not so scary that she stopped watching.
No, my daughter's ballsy. She's tougher than my son, I think. Which
there it is.
Figure that out. Yeah, she's just not afraid of much. He could be afraid of things. She's very little she gets afraid of. That the wolf scared her. Anyway, so we were talking about the game, the Xbox Direct. They showed off Forza, and here let's see if we can do the.
I didn't get to see it. They showed off 4 games, and that was yesterday.
Yeah, but again, what they did was really more of like, you have to sign in to confirm your age. Really, for the Xbox briefing.
Hey man, you know how they do like that.
And
this is what the age we live in now.
Not only that, but I have to confirm my age, and then I have to go to my phone to confirm it's me confirming my age.
Look, if you don't do that, then a little kid might click on it and see something they're not supposed to see and get sued by Xbox someone might try to sue Xbox.
Wait a minute, do I have to be doing StreamYard in Chrome?
I don't know.
Or just have Chrome open, because I have Chrome open.
I feel like if
And
you just have Chrome open, it might be fine, but maybe not. I don't know. Like all I use is Chrome. I don't use Firefox.
let's see here. Present, share screen, select window. Yeah, no, it's not working.
Okay, well, why don't you send me the link?
And
I can pull it up.
How do I send it to you?
You can either just put it into the chat or private chat. Either one works.
There you go. All right, that's yesterday. And then, anyways, I guess the short of it is, I mean, how much more accurate can we get these cars in Forza?
That's a very real question.
I mean, it's completely real. I'm completely fooled. I swear, I feel these cars are real, and it does feel like they're just gonna make them a little shinier. I don't know. Okay, so that's. I don't even know why this thing won't go away. Go away. All right, here we go. Look at this. Videolytics. Oh, there we go. You have to probably fast forward because it probably sits on a counter for like.
And you're just trying to get to.
You can just you can see what the games are. You can like hot jump to the game. It's Forza.
Okay.
And then
Minecraft Legend. Yeah, I see it. Forza Motorsport.
And then Minecraft. Oh yeah, Minecraft was first.
This is the most technically advanced racing game ever made. Today, I'm joined by some of our amazing team members to show you how we are.
You know how hard this would have been in the AGI days.
This is
I'm wearing my G4 hoodie here.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
So, I mean, like, and like I've been playing, like every once in a while I'll fire up Forza Horizon 4, right? Which is, you know, the more like fun arcadey mode, right? It's like at some point I always feel like get out of the car now and do something else, right? Like I get to this destination and then it's like I want to go in that house and start blowing it up. It's like I can just drive these. Like it's getting to the point where like GTA type games, their cars are almost not as realistic, but at least it gives you enough of the racing flavor. But then you can get out of the car. Like I just feel like, I mean, it looks fun and it is fun. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, like Forza, or at least games like Forza, aren't for like they're for the people. This game is like for the sake. It's the driving equivalent of the flight simulator, right? Like,
yeah.
There are people that are just like that's what they want to play. Like like I don't know if like a Derek H is still that kind of guy, but there was a point in time when Derek H was that dude, right? Like Derek H wanted to be able to get the experience of a high performance vehicle in a video game format because he knew like I'm not going to actually be behind the wheel, The
other thing I was thinking about racing games, I was thinking about why I don't like racing games like I like other sport games, right? And I do like some racing, but I figured it out. Like in most racing games, when you're racing with people who are good and know how to do racing, if you fall behind early, no matter what you do, you're pretty much done, right? So like you're literally chasing. And then for me, it always gets to the point where, oh, fuck, they're about to lap me. Son of a bitch. This guy's going to lap me. And then they lap me. And now it's like, I should just quit. And then, well, then I'm a quitter. But like, there's no way I'm catching up. Whereas in a football game, it's like, I get a couple possessions, a turnover, baseball. I mean, I get 3 outs. So if I can stay up and hit as long as I can. But in a racing game, you fall behind early, you're screwed. And even with the rubber band stuff, that just makes you go, this is bullshit. Like a beam up. Or is it Kill Assist? He's like a rubber band AI, which a lot of the Need for Speed games, they'll add that. And sure, fine against the computer, but we all know that you want to like go online and race people, and those people are not rubber banding back to you on the final lap, like bumping into stuff. And so I've found that most of these people that love Forza and these racing games, they're shaving seconds off each time, right? Like they're finishing a lap and going, oh, next time I'm going to be even faster because I'm going to do this over here. Whereas I'm trying not to bump into that wall for the fourth time in a row, right? And so like the fourth time in a row is when you're like, this is pointless. I should just leave the game, right? And so like I don't do racing stuff in GTA. I don't do racing stuff in Red Dead either.
Oh, so you don't even do the racing stuff in like
because I always lose. Like I used to love like the idea of Midnight Club. Like that game was so like cool, right? And it was like it was like an early city that you could race, and it was kind of open world in a sense. Mm-hmm. But I would get smoked every time, and it's like you be doing good, and then you'll hit the corner of something like a fraction, and then your car will spin almost completely sideways to a full stop. And then it's like, oh yeah, all right, I'm done.
Listen, you know, based on our experience that, and of course, like how the internet is in this day and age.
Are you getting a breaking news story? Is someone coming in with the latest breaking news?
My cat, like I'm gonna show you my cat. This is what my cat is doing over here.
Wow.
My cat is over here scaling the TV, and I'm just like, what are you doing? That's what I'm looking at. But anyway, and of course, when I show him, he's like, oh, let me get out of here. You know? But the fact of the matter is that the chat, if chat was here en masse, what they would tell you is get good. Right, right. They just get good, right? But
that's like saying, "Hey, I really want to be in a band, and I'm going to play with all these musicians, and I'm going to try and get better." It's like, no, I'm not a musician. I just want to play some music.
And here's the thing, but the other part or the other side of that, the other side of that coin with get good is it boils down to gameplay, and it's like, is the gameplay fun for you? Because if that gameplay was fun for you, you would just keep doing it because you would enjoy it.
But look,
that gameplay is not enjoyable.
The Daytona 500 is 500 laps around a circle. Right. Is that fun? Is that really fun? No,
absolutely not. Fun. And guess what? There's a reason why Mario Kart can give Forza a run for its money in regards to how popular it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like right. That's what I'm saying. The same thing that you're talking about, like that, like it's super fun, even if you are in last place. And if you are in last place, guess what? We're going to give you a power up that's going to give you a shot to maybe get back into the middle and get back into the mix of things. And it's awesome. So, but don't get me wrong.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten more. They talked about it 20 years ago, but this idea that GTA is the game world, right? And then you want to play racing games, you go into GTA and you race. You want to play basketball, you go into GTA and you play basketball. Like the tennis, those games are not that great. But I wonder if GTA 6, if they're spending more time on those games within a game to keep people in there more, because online is a service now, right? So like you might not play online for GTA because you don't want to just do robberies and heists and car culture, right? But if GTA 6 has a whole NBA 2K competitive system in it, you're going to be balling there because, again, the same thing happens with NBA 2K. It's fun, but after I'm done playing basketball, I've worked up all this gear and stuff, and what is it doing? It's sitting in my virtual NBA 2K silo, right? So in the future, don't I want to take my NBA 2K perks that I earn in the game and then wear them over to the golf course and play my LeBron jersey and play a real Tiger Woods type golf game inside the same game? And instead of having to buy all the games, you just pay a monthly service fee.
But I feel like GTA Online, like people do that to a much lesser degree than what you're talking about, because like people have races. Like
the car culture, it's more in the car culture. I'm saying beyond car culture.
Right. But I'm saying
the football.
I can't tell you how many videos I've watched of content creators that are just like, let's just go into the game and have like fist fights. And it's almost like a Fight Club-ish kind of thing inside of GTA, which is,
and there's a lot of RPG stuff that is like that. But I'm saying, as a strategy of a game company, like there's got to be game developers out there that are going, fuck, how is Rockstar selling this game from 12 years ago? It's the same game. They're still selling it, right? Like, how many Saints Rows have they had to pump out to try and capture the magic of it? They can't get it, right? Like, they can't.
No, they can't.
They can't get it. And it's got to be maddening for people because it's not really anything special. It just seems to be the attention to detail, and they're willing to play the long game, right? Like, Rockstar is willing to spend 10 years developing something because they know that the billions that will come from it will make it worth it. It's kind of like the Call of Duty, but they're kind of doing the opposite. They're just rinse repeating it.
And that was what I was going to say, is that I feel like people more so look at the Call of Duty because they're just like, dude, like Call of Duty's not really even necessarily innovating as much as, say, a GTA is. But at the same time, again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying, is about gameplay. And if people like that gameplay, you just stick with it, you know? And that's, I will say that, I know for myself, I think Call of Duty's gameplay is pretty great. But at the same time, I know for myself, I got tired of it at a certain point, and I was like, okay, let me take a break. Then when I tried to get back into it, I got back into it on the wrong cycles.
Single player?
I look, I haven't played a single player Call of Duty game in probably like 5 or 6 years now.
Right.
You know, and like right now where I'm getting my shooting fix is from Splatoon. Yeah. Which is the Nintendo game, and which is wild because no one takes that game seriously because of what it looks like. But it's a very innovative shooter. And that's like, it's so funny because, especially being a fan of the franchise from the beginning, you know, it won the award for in the Game Awards for like over Call of Duty and Fortnite for, I think it was best multiplayer game. And people were so angry, Scott Rubin. They were so angry.
With any kind of award, people seem to get really pissed off.
True, but I feel like the gaming community, especially here in America, was like, who plays Splatoon? But it's a huge franchise. It's pretty crazy. And it's
basically painting instead of shooting.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, yeah. Like it I mean, don't get me wrong, you do like actually shoot at the other people as well. And you know, they don't even call it like, you don't like kill, it's not kills, they call them splats or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you know, like when you splat them, they actually splat in your color ink. And that's the whole thing, is like you're supposed to cover the floor in your color ink as best you can. And so it's one of these things, like it's just very different, and it's all objective based, and it's a great game. But you know, it's one of those games where, especially if you're talking about a person that's usually used to playing like Call of Duty type games as their main shooter fix, it's like, you know, a lot of people aren't necessarily open to that idea of trying to try something like that because it doesn't look like it's for them. Everything is so like edgy and gritty, you know what I'm saying? Which is wild because, you know, Overwatch, I guess it's kind of in between, right? Because you got like a friggin' Gorilla Man. Like, you know, it's like halfway cartoony, half, you know, like, or, you know, I guess science fiction-y ish, you know, it like, it has like it has a bit of a edge to it, but it has definitely like a cartoonish kind of feel to it as well. But people like that game, so.
And you play that on the Switch. And when you play your Switch, do you hook it up to the TV or do you play it only handheld?
No, I usually, primarily I play it on the TV. But when I travel, I definitely take it with me and play handheld.
I have friends that have a what do you call it, a Switch, but they've never hooked it up to a TV. Yeah, because the TV is mounted so close to the wall, they can't get the wires behind it. I was like, what? You guys are not weird. Even using it on a TV? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is the copy link. Copy link. This is Super Mario World.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like this woman who's like, An influence, I'm like, you're just an adult that wants to go to Super Mario World.
Look, I'm not mad at that though.
I know,
but
it
Mario
just,
World.
like, let a younger kid in there, lady. Come on.
I mean,
I want to
there's
see
room.
Mario World through a young child's eyes, not a 40-year-old woman who's just dropped everyone off at school.
You know that. Well, actually, I guess I should.
think this is this video. This is the woman.
Okay, let's see.
I probably shouldn't say anything. You play that video.
I will.
I
That's
get some
too
water.
funny.
Play some video while I get a beverage.
I got us. Let's see. Uh-oh, what happened?
We're some of the first people to go in this land. This is amazing.
Oh, this is cool. This is different than Japan.
This is what it's like to go through a warp pipe. Oh my god. This is kind of incredible. Yeah! All right, wow.
We just came out of Peach's Castle.
Wow. How awesome is this?
This is so cool.
Okay, I'm fighting back tears. Wow, it is so amazing finally being in here. Everything, just being this close to all these moving parts, you really feel like you walked into a video game.
Look at the huge piranha plant behind you.
I know, it's kind of scary.
This is so damn cool. Oh my god.
First things first, I think we need to go buy ourselves a power-up band.
So we went in the one-up factory and we have found the power bands.
Yeah, the question is, which one are we going to get? Which one do you want? I know, all 6.
Do I want Luigi or do I want Yoshi?
I think you want Yoshi. I think you want Yoshi and I want Toad.
Okay, let's do it. This store is actually pretty cool. It's called the One-Up Factory. And here's where you can get all your Super Mario Brothers merch.
So cute. These are a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be. Right? Like they're thick. When you open up the Universal Studios Hollywood app, there's actually an entire section for Super Nintendo World right on the homepage. So you use these power-up bands to collect stamps, view your rank, and see how many coins you've collected and track your adventure. So let's scan the QR code to get started. I'm Team Toad. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize by picking Toad I was going to be Team Toad. But I think you could change your name, and then you could pick your.
I think I've seen this girl at some industry events over the years.
I'm totally picking it.
Not really, but
Really?
I've seen her type.
Backgrounds.
By the way, how good is the music in here?
Amazing. I thought the music was going to be just too much, overstimulating, but it's just.
It just seems like every girl I see at industry parties.
I literally feel like I'm in a video game. I don't know how many times.
She is super excited.
All right, I'm all set. Wow, that was incredibly easy.
So it wasn't like the Magic Man.
Don't you have some kids that should be doing this instead?
How cute is that? Team Toad. Let's do this.
She very well may not have any, and that's okay.
She's wearing our Hogwarts. I don't know. I feel like we've enabled a whole generation to just never take life seriously.
Team Yoshi and Team Toad.
Look, we don't know what these people do when they're not in Super Mario Land, right?
This guy's in trouble. Green glasses.
World. Yeah, they look pretty normal.
I'm glad that you threw that out.
For the challenge to begin, who's going to
He's not one of the guys who's going to save the box if the original slap thing came in.
But I guess it's so little kids should.
Yeah.
That is funny though, where she's like, oh, I guess this is so low so kids can do it.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
That's why it's low, because you're too big. Yeah, you too. You're bigger than Mario after you eat some mushroom, dude.
What the heck?
I played Mario. I know how it's done.
Look,
So I
You
just
got
got a lot of coins with the question blocks. But I
Chat,
forgot to
a
link
chat
the
come from
game to my
BMOP.
account. I just go after
Scott
it.
shaming people for having fun.
I don't know. I feel like, you know what? I guess this is what happens. You turn over 50 and everything sucks.
Pro tip: I thought when you hit the blocks, you actually had to hit it with this, but I think you could just use your hand.
Yeah.
Kids are in school, right? That's true. But let the kids out to experience the park.
Oh,
I took my kid to Star Wars place when it first. He must have been
it's so satisfying about doing that.
maybe
Oh my God, look at
3,
Yoshi up there.
and he
He
cried.
didn't appreciate it at all, huh?
No, yeah, he loved it. And then we walked into I think I told the story. We walked into like the area where it's like really all Star Wars, and Darth Vader, oh no, 2 stormtroopers, I guess, were walking by. And my wife kind of jokingly said, the stormtrooper asked a question, and my wife pointed to my son in the stroller, like, oh, ask him. And they said something to him, and he just immediately went into this, like, ooh, like they scared him, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I have that video. So I'll dig that up so we can traumatize him.
It's like, remember when you punked out in front of Darth Vader?
It's so easy now, too. It's like I can literally just type in Star Wars on my phone, and I'll bet you all those pictures show up. Oh, 12 photos. No. But if I go Disney. So are you planning on this? Must be very exciting for you, Mary Young. You're a huge Nintendo fan.
I am a big Nintendo fan. And, you know, I will say I would go check this out, definitely. But I wasn't excited for it in the same way I was like when they were like, oh, we're going to make the Star Wars land. Or
really?
Like, yeah, or when they were like,
you're not as excited for Mario Land as you are for Star Wars Land?
yeah, or like when or Avengers Campus, which I haven't even really been to in a real way. Like, you know, they have Avengers Campus at Disneyland. And I think it's just a matter of understanding the difference in scale that it's probably going to be. Like, even looking at this video, which this all looks fantastic, but this is like a whole different thing. Like, is a whole different scale than, like, say, for instance, what they did with, you know, like what they're doing at Disneyland with that whole Star Wars area. And I mean, also, too,
no,
I guess
it's like augmented plus. You're gonna get like rides and I mean, isn't it the same thing? No.
And I think the rides are probably the part that I'd be most excited for, because I feel like the rides are probably going to be really good. But I feel like the land itself, I don't know. Like, and it might have something to do with the fact that it's Mario. Like, it may be harder for me to like see myself inside of a world like that. I feel like it really is like it'd be different if you are a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like a place that would be made for children to run around in and feel more at home in.
Yeah.
Like I think, like, honestly, that especially even like that brick or that question mark block kind of perfectly illustrates where it's like that's the scale they're building stuff to. So if I was a little kid, you know, it's like I would probably have a much better time there than I will as an adult. I feel like with the Star Wars joint, it's like it doesn't matter whether I'm a kid or an adult. It's built for my size, you know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, even the Star Wars stuff, like I feel like they're shoveling so much Star Wars stuff so that the newer generation will have fresh material to relate to, right? Because otherwise it was like kids didn't give a crap about Star Wars until about 5 years ago, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say when they do, like how much they care or didn't care, because it's like there's waves, right? Because obviously, like, our generation had a special relationship with Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
here it is. I found it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Let's see. I think they ask him a question or something. He just doesn't like it. He's scared. All right, let's see if I can show this. I don't even know if it'll work. So,
It won't auto rotate.
It should. Oh, I have it locked. Silly.
That makes sense.
There we go. So this is him. Oh, the light's screwing it up, but
That's good.
yeah. And then they come up. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, woo, 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 they talk to me. I was like, oh no.
He's so small.
He was like,
Oh, man.
Imperial invaders. We were like, all right, time to go. Scary.
Listen, I can imagine how scary that would be as a small kid, where it's like these guys in this weird mask and their voices sound strange and they got weapons.
For sure.
It's like,
I was scared of the flying monkeys and the Wicked Witch of the East from Wizard of Oz. That scared me growing up. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
monkeys should not have wings. We all know that.
And King Kong. But that's about it. Like, I don't remember being scared a lot as a kid. I think my parents were smart and just didn't show me stuff. I show my kids all this stuff. And sometimes they're like, I don't think we should be seeing this. I'm like, all right.
I was definitely overexposed. And I was scared of everything.
Oh, yeah.
But it was stuff that I was supposed to be scared of, because it was like literally like my mom and dad liked horror movies and stuff like that, and so
so my parents weren't into that. I never really saw any of that stuff.
No, or even I remember being terrified of the Thriller video. Thriller it was super eerie to me. I was like, oh no, I don't like this.
Well, he did it the right way, because it was like it felt like a real mini campy horror movie, right? It wasn't just like a music video.
Right.
Yeah, my kids, like, what did they watch recently where they're kind of like a little scared? Oh, like The Incredibles, right? Incredibles 2, great movie, but the whole slaver or whatever, that whole concept was very scary to kids. And so I wonder if they have these meetings where they're like, all right, how young is someone going to be freaked out, right? Like they must have this cutoff point where they realize, okay, well, anyone under 7, they're on their own, because they shouldn't really be there. But if you can't take your kid to a Pixar movie, is Pixar supposed to be PG and not G?
Oh, I don't know. Is it PG?
I don't know. It just feels like you should be able to take your kid to a Disney/Pixar movie without them coming out being traumatized.
Right. But I mean, and you feel like that is that was you're talking about the experience with the wolf.
Well, the first time I took my son to Incredibles 2, I thought he enjoyed it, but I found out a year and a half later, he's like, "Oh, that movie scared me so much." I was like, "It did?" I was like, "Why didn't you say something?" He's like, "Oh my God," and he wouldn't watch it again, even older, because he remembered being so scared. And I was like, "It is not that scary." I was like, "My daughter, she could probably handle it." So we watched it all together, and she said it was a little scary, but not as much as he was kind of making it out to be, and he was kind of fine. But I do feel like
what's scaring it about him.
Well, the screenslaver guy, you put the glasses on, you become a zombie, and the good guys all became zombies, and they couldn't control each other, couldn't control themselves.
Oh wow, that's interesting. I never thought that's. But you know what though? Your son might be too smart. That's what he's smart enough to know he should be scared. He's like, that's terrifying. He's like, that loss of control through technology. My God.
It is interesting. Just trying to find a movie with kids is a challenge, right? That's the other thing is you go, oh, let's watch this movie I watched when I was a kid. It's so great. And halfway through, you're like, this movie sucked. What the hell? Nothing from very few from the 70s and 80s. If you put it on now, you're like, oh, that is great. You're kind of like, what was?
It was a different time, man.
Some of it is so sexist. It is so interesting how much we allowed filmmakers, I guess, to get away with. When you think about, well, you don't want censorship, but it was just it's not so much censorship, it's insensitiveness, right? things that are like mean spirited about fat people and women and women working and women athletes.
Listen, no, you can't say it like that. It's not what we let filmmakers get away with. It's like that was what our society was like back then. Like that was considered
society
acceptable.
hasn't changed, right? Like there were people back then that thought that were woke and thought that was wrong, but people just
but they were in the minority.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, you think it's just more? There's more of a majority of people that are willing to go. That's not right. Yeah, and really, that's all it is, right? Is people going, that's not right, right?
That's
because if enough people say that's not right, then the people that are in charge start to go, oh, well, we don't want to lose money.
Exactly, and that's all it is. And it's like,
and that's kind of what's going on right now with Twitter, right? I mean, people, and this whole Twitter thing is very interesting to me because it does feel almost like Revenge of the Nerds, almost like the people who used to hate getting bullied. As soon as Elon Musk took over Twitter, they were the ones digging up the most insensitive, mean-spirited, Elon's an idiot. What's his Asperger's, whatever. Like all the most insensitive things against him. It was like, we're in charge of saying the nasty memes. You like memes? We're gonna give you the nasty meme. We're gonna. You thought it was bad before, and I was just like, this is really interesting how this is playing out. It's almost like you're mad about something and you're mad at how they fought, and now you finally feel like, well, I'm going to fight back the same way. But it's like, I thought you were the ones that were better than that, right? Like you cried foul about that.
And that is the reality too, where it's like, it's unfortunate where we've gotten to from a societal perspective, where it's like, like it used to be a thing where we're just like, hey man, like, you don't just call people names. Like it's childish, it's beneath us or whatever. Now name calling is normalized. Like it's like you're not really seeing
the president did normalize it. Our president really did. I used to say that because I had little kids, but the idea that the president of the United States would mock a handicapped person or just any of those things that he did was so. It wasn't like, well, it was so out of bounds, but it did allow a section of this country to go, or the world even to go, hey, so that's our voice. You guys get to have your voice, your LG, whatever they believe it is. Our voice is mocking the handicapped guy. And he made it okay to be that guy.
Yeah, right. And it's messed up,
it's
man.
So funny because we went from having this incredible statesman of Barack Obama who he would speak and everyone would go, wow. I mean, like, even if you didn't agree with what he was saying, just like, he speaks so well on our behalf. And that's just so nice that we're represented in that way. And then it just swung all the way. But, and I will say that the two elections that you look at, the Hillary one and this one, pretty even. The people that came out to vote, it's 100%. Pretty even. So those people that like Trump and like that voice, even though they think that it's messed up sometimes, they're like, well, politics is messy, right? Like, freedom is messy, right? If elections are messy, right? So it's okay if our guy is messy. And it just does seem like, again, I have a kid perspective. Before it was like, fuck it all, right? Burn it down.
Right.
Now, hey, well, don't burn it down, my kids in there.
Right. No, it's really wild because I feel like there was definitely a point in time where, from at least in America, we kind of felt like, well, the person that runs the country should be like the best of us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I never believed that. I never believed that the person who ran the country was the best of us.
Well, no. I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying that they should be. Like, the person that's in charge of the entire country should be somebody that's not average. You know what I'm saying? Like,
or at least not mocking handicapped
Well,
people.
well, no,
It's
well, but
like-
see, no, but
like
that's
a
what my
base
next
level,
statement
like,
is.
You can be a conservative, anti-abortion, all that stuff. But why would you feel the need to insult people who just
Yeah.
like they disagree? You're empowered. You won.
Right.
So why
right,
do you have
right.
to mock them? Right. You already won.
But I think that something changed in America where, like people are like, oh, well, like, what we need is somebody that's more like us in, the ubiquitous us though. Right. And it's just like, but what does that even mean? Because like America, there's a lot of different types of people in America. So you can't, and that's the whole thing where that's where the tribalism comes from, where it's kind of like, well, us and most people in the country are like us. And that's what everybody is kind of feeling like. And it's like, well, no, that can't be true. Like everybody can't be like whatever us you're saying. And there is like an average of something, but like people aren't trying to figure out what
that is unstable. I mean, like some people don't even. Everyone's got different dialect. Like even we all speak English for the most part,
right.
But even that is different, right? Everywhere you go, that dialect, that language, and I do think that we've gotten to a point also where because we all have a microphone now, everybody thinks that they do deserve a shot at the mic to speak on behalf of the whole country.
Right. And that's the whole thing where it's like, there's nothing wrong with having the kind of humility where you're like, hey, I have something to say and it's worth listening to, but I may not necessarily be the best person for this particular job. But the fact is, I think there's a lot of people that are just like, I would be a better president than any of the people that we've had beforehand. And it's like, come on, man, really?
Well, we know that.
Like, no. Do we? I don't know. Tiger Claw.
I do think that we do have almost like I can see how the people that were a part of the January 6th stuff, like when we and you were talking about how like, most of the country is this. Well, what all they see is that the elections were close. They didn't get blown out, even though he's Donald Trump, even though he said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. It was close, right? So they are going, not only is it close, but the Jews own the media and entertainment is run by liberals. And so like, even if it were us winning, you'd never know because they control the message, right? And like, that's fair, right? You can't even really argue with that because while there are Newsmax and you can certainly find your conservative news now, it's not like before where there were 4 stations, right? Like there's news, there's content everywhere. And that's kind of one of the biggest reasons that I'm all about Twitter is because Twitter is where I let everybody who says they're a news source pitch me on their stories for the day. And then I either say you're full of shit or not, right? Like instead of watching NBC Nightly News every night because that's the news and that's what's going on in the world, like, or this is the New York Times, this is the news, this was what's going on in the world according to really smart people. Like I can see how a bunch of people in this country are like, fuck all those institutions. They're just telling me what they want to know. And you can see it every day. Like I have Windows, right? So like I was a Mac guy for a long time, but in Windows, they put in this, what is it? I don't even know what it's called. Windows home screen or something. It's just on the left-hand side. You click it and it's like stories, right?
Right.
And I'll see something. Rodney King's daughter calls Trey Nichols' police beating sickening, right? And I'll click that and it'll take me to a story. And the stories that are there in the bottom are like, also check out these stories. I'll get into almost like a Wikipedia, like click into story to story, and I'll go through 5 or 6 stories where it's like parents beat this 10-year-old to death. This girl was found in the basement of this guy's house. I mean, it was one horrific, horrible story. And I really don't see these stories anywhere except the Microsoft What's New Today. Today and like any news site where you click the stories below, right? Like not the main stories, but those like you're also interested in this mass murderer who had 10 people in their freezer in the basement. Like I find like so many of those stories and it's like we're at a world where there's so much information. There's good news and bad news. And whoever you allow to aggregate your news, that's going to be your state of mental health. That is going to be your state of what you care about and who you have sympathy and empathy for. That's going to be how you live your life. So I feel like Twitter at least allows me to say, these are the sources that I like. I'll see some of these other ones that get, thrown in from wherever, and then maybe add them or not. But I feel like that's where we need to be. Like, we need to get out of this. Like, I watch CNN for all my news. I read the Washington Post, because what we found is that they all have agendas. They all write what they want the stories to be. And I mean, I just feel like it's too easy to live your life and let someone aggregate for you. And then you wake up. Like, I look at my parents who grew up in an era where they were brainwashed, right? Slowly through television and through mainstream media. So that in these years where I try to talk to my mother about certain things that are in the news or whatever, they're so far out of the dome of wisdom that was created for her by mainstream media from the time she was 13 to now, that it's like, I could be talking chicken language. Like the spaghetti monster guy, right? What are you talking? Like, she'll literally, some of the things I'll say, she'll look at me and go, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, literally.
Really?
Like, oh yeah. Like, I would try to explain to her Bitcoin, right? Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that don't know, but like, that's an idea of something that just now is starting to penetrate. And what it's penetrating in that dome is, it's bad. It's not as good as money. Like, you know what I mean? Those are the stories that get through the dome to my mother. Bitcoin is bad or whatever. And when I was starting All Game, there was no websites. She could watch TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not even hear a mention of a website. And so we've kind of created a society where we've allowed other people to tell us what's important. And that's why I feel like it's important now for this new generation to cut the cords with networks and have their own curated sources that they trust. And sometimes it's Perez Hilton, right? Like,
well, yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, and I agree with you that people should not be getting their news sources or their news from one source. That should not happen. Like, you need.
But that's really how it was. Maybe too.
Right now, and people still do that to this day, right? Yeah. But more importantly than where you get your news from, I feel, is the actual act of like critical thinking. Like, that's something that's not happening and being taught in the same way in this day and age, where a person can look at something and be like, I don't know, that feels fishy, and like try to like break it apart a little bit, like like poke holes at it, or like listen to something and be like, well, this sounds true, but that part I don't know, and it's like, it's weird because it almost feels like in this day and age we kind of almost do an all or nothing kind of thing, whether you see a headline and you either believe it wholeheartedly and that becomes your gospel, or it's like, oh well, that's absolutely not true because it doesn't fit into my worldview. And it's like, it doesn't have to be either or
to us, right? Like, every single one of these talk shows, are produced by people who go, all right, you're going to be the one that says it's this, and you're going to be the one that's like, even G4TV.com. Every show we had to be like, you're going to think this and you're going to think, and I was like, that's bullshit. I don't want to. Well, we have to have conflict. That's how it works. Like, literally, not only do they paint you the black or white choice, they tell you why it's black and why it's white. So you don't have to figure out why it's black or white, right? You have a generation that's being told, here's what's going on and here's what you should think about it. And don't waste any time thinking about it. Here, let's move on to the next topic. I already told you what to think about it.
Right. And that's the thing where it's like, it's weird to me that people don't mess around and see that and feel like, wait a minute, like, why do I need you? What? They're not too busy. They think they think they are, but that's the whole thing where it's like,
show they have to binge watch. Is 12
and that's
to watch.
People people are lazy. That's that's what it is they're lazy. And it's like,
we
and that's the thing, like,
lazy.
it's one
Food
thing
comes to us now. You pick up the phone, everything comes to us. We've literally, it's like that which Pixar movie
Wall-E.
was it where they end up on the cruise ship? Wall-E.
Wall-E, yeah.
We're Wall-E.
Yeah.
We're a bunch
it's
of
wild,
meat bags that can dial up anything.
There it is. So it's really wild, because I'm just saying, it doesn't take that much effort to think. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not physical exertion. It's literally just being like, you know, but cats don't want to do that. They'd rather just be like, well, hey, this is the source that I trust, and whatever they say, that's what happened.
I did have a switching gears to first person shooters. I did have a moment where, you know, my son and I were playing Call of Duty Warzone 2 together.
Right.
He's on the Xbox. I'm on the PC. And, you know, I never had that experience before. I've been in a game with him before, but not a game where it's like, oh my God, I just got shot. My 8-year-old son is coming to revive me and give me a medical kit, and then be on the lookout for the guy. Like, he was communicating. We were having this incredible experience in this not real place, but it was real. The experience we had connecting in this place was real. The fun we had was real. And then my wife got a load of like what it looked like. She walked in and literally, I think my son was killing people with a machine gun. And she was just like, what are we doing? What is going on? Why is he doing that? Why? This is not appropriate. Not appropriate. Not appropriate. And I'm like, well. And it was a real moment, because I wasn't just playing a game with him. I was having the time of my fucking life. We were having so much fun. But I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like having a squad mate like that you birthed. I mean, it was very weird, especially for me, who over the past 30 years has essentially been a solo gamer in real life, right? Like, I've played online, but I don't bring people over here to sit on the couch and play games with me. And here was my son, who was pooping in a diaper a few years ago, now saving my life in an online game. And he was understanding it, right? Like, he was understanding the concepts. He knew to go to rooms to unlock kits, and he was doing things without me having to tell him. And I was just like, I mean, my son's, he's pretty smart. I don't want to brag, but he's smart. And so, like, he got it so quick that we were exfiltrating successfully. And then I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to my wife about this, because he likes it and we want to play. And I don't really feel like there's anything wrong with it. It's like capture the flag. It's, you know, it's not real guns, right? Like, it's a controller, right? When I was a kid, I had a squirt gun. It's shaped like a gun. It has a trigger. And when I squeezed it, it would shoot projectile into someone's face. I also had a BB gun that would actually shoot BBs. It felt like a real weapon. This wasn't that. And I couldn't believe that I was in a situation where my own wife was actually the one saying, what are you doing? Why are you letting our kid murder people?
So how did that conversation go?
Well, it really, the universe has a way of making things okay on their own. The day after that night we had that conversation, my son had a birthday party that he had to go to. He didn't want to go because he wanted to stay home and play Warzone with me. He's like, I don't want to go to the party.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't crying, but he's like, I want to stay and play. And she's like, it's your friend's birthday. You got to go. So they go to this party. She's like, it's going to be fun. It's at a playground place, whatever. She calls me up after, they're coming home. for dinner, and how was it? He's like, oh, he had a good time. He kind of got over it. It's like he was kind of depressed, he was thinking about it. And I tried to cheer him up by saying, why don't you do the laser tag? They have laser tag in there. And he didn't want to do it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, laser tag.
Yeah, laser tag's okay though, huh? Right.
Don't they like give you a gun and put you into a dark room with other children and tell you to go shoot him? And I'm like, what? Wait a minute, you were telling him he didn't want to go do it? She's like, no, he didn't want. I'm like, but why did you want him to do it? She's like, oh, because I wanted him to have fun. I'm like, but you just gave us this whole lecture on how he
all this grief about virtual guns.
Shooting people. And this is a real gun, and you want him to go follow his young classmates in to shoot them from behind with a laser. I was like, I just don't. So my son hears this conversation over the speakerphone in the car on the way back, and he's like, yeah, wait a minute, laser tag. You wanted me to play laser tag. How can you? Ba, 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 ba. And my wife was like, uh-oh. She was not happy that this had turned in this way. And she didn't want to talk about it. And she got very upset. And so I was like, all right, we won't talk about it.
But who was she upset at?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Like, she mad at who, herself?
I don't know. Sometimes you get a look in that mirror and you're like, oh my God, it's me. And so I think he might have then took it up as like, every day I'm going to be like, well, why would you ask me to go play laser tag and not allow me to play Call of Duty? That's a gamepad. It's not even a real gun. Right. And I think between the two of us, she kind of was getting it from both sides. Like, well, why not? Right? Why are you okay with laser tag? Right? What is okay about laser tag? Well, it's not real in the game. It's blood, but it's not real, right? Right. And I think he's not affected or angry about it. So, we won, and she kind of said, "Fine, if he."
Them Reuben boys.
My son looked at me like he couldn't believe we found that loophole. He was like, the laser tag. The laser tag was perfect. He's like, that was beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. How did we get that? I'm like, I don't know. She walked right into it. If she hadn't said it to me, like, oh, I tried to get him to go do laser tag, but I wouldn't even probably known. And it probably would have just festered as this thing that he couldn't do. So then what I tried to do is I said, you know what? I really need to introduce him to Fortnite because that's the same game, but without the blood. And it's all like wacky, fun weapons. He'll probably get a big kick out of it. So I showed him Fortnite, and the two of us started playing duos in Fortnite. And for a while, I felt good until Burr and the others in chat told me that when you're first starting in Fortnite, you go against like bots, and it's not always real people. And so we were winning a couple of them. And he's like, yeah, but you probably weren't really winning. I'm like, but maybe.
Why did Burr have to rain on your parade?
I think multiple people in chat were like, you're not really that good. And I will say that after winning a bunch, I feel like maybe we did get to another level because we started getting like, 10th, 7th, 5th, 3rd. Right. But I've still gotten a few victories, and I actually was able to. One of the cool things about Fortnite, you can play on any platform, right? So like PC, Xbox, it's free everywhere. So put the PlayStation Fortnite, had him playing on the PC, but with the gamepad. And so we were able to play at the same time. And it really is fun. Like, I mean, it makes sense. They've spent so much time refining that game over the years. So many people play it. I do think it's a little off-putting just how much money they want you to spend on cosmetics. Like one costume was like, I want to say 30,000 V-Bucks, which I don't even know how much 30,000 V-Bucks actually is in real money, but I just felt like it was so overpoweringly like pay for all this stuff. And even the game itself, and Warzone does it too. It's almost like put your finger there, rub your hat, and then step here to play the free version. Because if you click anything else, it's gonna like put you in the screen where it's like Battle Pass, pay here, $10. You know, it's like But I will give it to them. You can play for free, and you can have a lot of fun playing Fortnite for free, and Warzone 2. Also, I haven't spent a dime on Warzone 1 or 2, and I have a hell of a great time playing that. I will say that after playing Fortnite a little while with my son, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to get him a little, because, you know, you'd be playing, you'd get killed, and then there'd be some dude in a gingerbread man outfit with a puppy in his backpack and like all this cool stuff. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like you can really make it your own by buying those cosmetics. But hell, it's a lot of money. Brakaru in chat says 1,000 V-Bucks is $8. So 30,000 of something.
Yeah.
30 times
That's
8?
Crazy.
Oh my God.
I know, right? That's crazy. That's like $240, something like that. Is that what that is?
I mean, it's crazy. And then even in Madden, I get so mad at the EA Sports guys. So like you launched the game of Madden, you buy this game, and then you hit play. And all I want to do is the same thing I've done for 20 fucking years, right? Just give me a fucking head-to-head game.
Right.
And it will pop up.
Yeah.
Winter has arrived.
Right.
Ray Lewis, frozen tundra, 50,000 credits. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
So I just wanted to go away.
Servicing everything.
So I hit A, and now I've launched Ultimate Team.
Into the shop. Oh,
Come
what
in,
is
pause, roll. You know, you think it's going to just get rid of the menu, but no, it's taking you to another set of menus. Now you're in Ultimate Team. And I was like, I don't want to be in Ultimate Team. But since you've last been in there, which is never, they give you all these, here's 30 packs, here's 20 XP, here's 2,000 rewards. Do you want to unlock and open these? Oh, here's a loot box. Open this for 10 more cards. I'm like, fuck you. I want to get back to head. So I hit out, and it sends me back to the main menu. And I'm like, finally. And I hit A, and it sends me back to Ultimate Team. Why? Because whatever mode you were in last, it moves that to the first menu position in the button.
Oh, my God.
The buttons on the bottom actually change based on what you last used, which is a scam to get you to accidentally click Modern Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that the people at Electronic Arts, the executives, who that's what they're doing. What you just did, the executive. If I had an executive and I was explaining this to him, he'd be like, that's
exactly.
how he designed it. He's like, that works exactly right. And it's just so unbelievable. Like they keep talking about EA. Someone wants to buy EA. No one's going to buy EA because the company is nothing. It's got a license for Madden. It's got a few WB, Batman. It's what else? Need for Speed? Road Rash? Dead Space? Yeah. I mean, really, EA is nothing. There's literally nothing there. It's sad. It's so sad. Upsetting. Like I could understand if Madden was a free game and like that was how they get you to pay. But I bought the game. I don't want to use those other modes. Stop tricking me into launching them.
Make it hard. Right. Tiger Claw is in chat too. He says,
change the menu buttons.
Have you tried PlayerUnknown's Battleground?
I have, and I liked it. I like
that game's hardcore.
I like what do you call it? Last Man Standing? What do you call it? What's it called? King of the Hill?
The Battle Royale.
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
I like it, and I do feel like both Warzone 2 and Fortnite are very tailored to the kind of way. Like I'm not an attack kind of player. I like to kind of hang around and like go into open shit up and just look around. And then next thing I know, there's only 5 people left. I'm like, I was just looking through some treasure chests and now there's only 5 of us left. Great. And then I go in and fight. But I feel like those games are designed for this kind of like semi-camping / just be on your toes. I like it. I am surprised that EA hasn't done their own version of that with Battlefield. There's no battle royale.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm assuming that they just decided that they don't want to be following. Yeah, they don't they're like, and I get it. Like, it's like maybe you can do something else, but I don't know. I feel like there are people that probably would like to try that in Battlefield. But
what about VR? You still are not in the VR world. What is the story? What you don't like it? You're not into it? Too expensive? Or
I mean, there's definitely a price point component to it where I'm just like, the barrier feels like it's a little too high for me. But then also too, there's just I get into games and I've said this before where immersion is a real thing for me, and sometimes the VR can be a little too immersive. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of feels like I'm all the way in. Mm-hmm. I remember the probably the last VR experience I had was a mod of The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, wow.
And it was basically, and when I say The Legend of Zelda, I'm talking about the original Legend of Zelda game.
Oh, the old N64 kind of thing.
Not N64.
Are you talking about NES?
Like NES Legend of Zelda, but the world made 3D.
Yeah, but it was still the old graphics.
Old graphics.
Yeah, they did that with Doom and stuff as well. Yeah. That's not fun. That's like saying, do you like Italian food? Here's a Gino's pizza roll. Tell me if you like Italian food.
Wait, but what made it wasn't that I wasn't having fun.
It's not optimized. It's not optimized.
The experience felt overwhelming. You feel like it would be less overwhelming
because it's not optimized.
Standard graphics.
It's you're stepping inside of a 16-bit game or an 8-bit game. That's not
right.
That's not. Again, it's like here's a pizza roll. Did you have Italian food? Kinda.
So you feel like it would be like I would be less immersed.
If I take you to a real good Italian restaurant like Half-Life Alex, you won't feel overwhelmed. You will feel transported.
No, but see, I don't know, man. And you might be right. I would definitely be willing to give it another shot, especially for a game that I really would like to play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the other aspect of things too, where I don't know that there's any killer app that I've seen that I'm like, oh man, I have to play that. But I just kind of feel like if I'm overwhelmed or feel overwhelmed by 8-bit graphics, I feel if you make it look like my living room, I'm going to be like, oh, dude, this is actually happening to me.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what we talked about before, which is what point do the graphics and the realism get so good that you have nightmares? And I'll say this, we're close. I do feel like we're getting to the point where there's some VR experiences, like the kayaking one is a good example, where you could fool yourself visually in some ways. Now, there's definitely both Derek H. Saying that he hasn't turned on his Oculus in over a year. Mm-hmm. I will say this. I have never bought, I think I bought one piece of software for VR. One. Mm-hmm. That doesn't bode well for it. And I think that's kind of the problem. I've used a lot of software, and there's a lot of free software like the poker. Mm-hmm. I play a lot of VR poker. It doesn't cost me anything. But that experience of playing poker online is no good. Playing poker online, people don't play like real poker because it's fake money. They got 3 games open at once, or they're not paying. When you're playing a VR poker game, everyone that's at that table has a headset on their head, and they can't use the game unless they have a headset on their head. So you're kind of in it, and you're focused on it, and you're playing. And at the higher stakes tables, I found, and I just went to Vegas a couple of weeks ago and played poker there after only playing VR poker for a couple of years. And boy, is it helpful. I really feel like what where VR and AR, I think, will become most useful is in training. So I watched a video of someone learn how to play violin using the augment. They have a real violin in their hand and they're looking at it, and it lights up where they need to put their fingers and what they need to do, and it tracks the bow. And
that's very cool.
To have somebody come to your house and do that is expensive, right?
Right.
But if in the future that one device can teach you violin, piano, drums, guitar, French, Spanish, like learning, I feel like learning using VR and AR is going to be huge. And then you look at things like engineering, building things and putting together things, like being able to see diagrams and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I feel like that's where the use case comes in. I also feel like there's a lot of people that don't want to be disconnected from reality. They're nervous about like, am I going to fall, or is someone going to touch me? It might, a lot of with women, it's hair and makeup, right? My hair is going to get all messed up. My makeup, it's going to be all over that thing. So I feel like there's a lot of that stuff that has to get figured out. Now, Apple's glasses apparently are going to tether to the phone, so they don't even need to put a real computer in the glasses. And then it's going to tether to a battery, so that you'll really have something on your face that you almost won't even really know is there. And that, to me, is the biggest problem with every single device right now. You feel it on your head, and after a while, it's uncomfortable, warm, whatever. And if you can get rid of that, I think people, I mean, I'm not worried about my hair and my makeup. People will be more apt to try it, because I think a lot of times people are like, well, why would anyone put something on their head? Scuba diving, skiing. I mean, there's so football, so many things that you would put a helmet on. Skydiving, snowboarding. You wear a helmet. You put something on your head. So it's not that. It's just the reward for that needs to be more than seeing a butterfly fly in your living room, right?
And I think that like from a gaming perspective, I think it really is just about having a killer app. Like at some point, somebody will develop something for VR, and people are going to be like, I have to play that. And I think the closest we probably come to that is maybe that Half-Life game, maybe. And that was the thing where it took so long that I feel like, there would have been a time where if that had come out, everybody would have had to try it. But because I think the amount of time had passed for so long since Half-Life had been relevant, I feel like, there was hardcore fans that are like, oh, I got to try it. And of course there are people that are like, well, I just want to be in the VR space and give that a go. I hear it's a really great game, but I just feel like it didn't take the industry by storm because it just wasn't. It was a good enough game, but not the killer app.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I can't spend more than an hour or two in an experience, especially if there's walking around. I get motion sick still, even after all these years, and so I figured that's got to get figured out. But there is something to be said for something that, as a kid, I always dreamed of. And I purposely stayed away from VR, all these dev kits that they had for Oculus, because I knew it wasn't going to match my expectations.
Right.
And it's funny because when I did the ice cream and I kind of left gaming, I didn't have a PC. I just played like Madden and Battlefield on the Xbox. I kind of stepped away from gaming. And when I, during the pandemic, started to install games, the thing that shocked me the most was that even when I installed a new game and I had it on low settings because I didn't have a powerful graphic card, it still looked better than anything I remember from 2009. So I was like, whoa, potato setting is now what I remembered as being high setting.
Right.
And now I can kind of see and it just felt like, we're getting to the point that I always dreamed of, both fidelity wise with the visuals and the VR that, Half-Life Alyx, and there's some mods there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some like experiences that, like the Google Maps one where you can like stand in an actual street corner and look around like you're really there. Like that
cool.
stuff. Yeah. Like there's stuff that I feel like it's not so much games. It's going to be apps.
Right.
And so I feel like that's what's going to be interesting to see what Apple's trying to sell a headset for $3,000, but it's not for games. So it's like, what app is going to be so killer that it's worth $3,000 and it's not a game?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're like, it'll be interesting because I do feel like what you're talking about there is probably more likely how VR is going to get its foothold in the mass, like in as far as like mass adoption, because it probably will be things like when you're talking about, hey, you can learn to play the violin like that, like somebody I think is more likely to do that, and eventually once that becomes like more commonplace that everybody has the sets, then the games that are worthwhile will come because you'll have the install base, like somebody will be like, well, everyone has these headsets, let's make some games for it,
Yeah, well, Sony just announced the PlayStation 2 VR, and they listed a bunch of software. And that is one of the cool things about VR is I've loaded up stuff from 2015, 16, blows me away, right? Like,
really?
Any VR gameplay video you see looks like crap. And there's so many things that I will look at a video of it and I'll be like, that looks awful. But then you step into it and you're like, holy shit, I get it now. Cause it's like, you
have
in
to
it.
Experience it. Yeah.
You kind of do. And then now the whole mod community, like literally they're putting Fortnite has a hook. Someone made a hook to get Fortnite so you can do Fortnite in VR. But like they're making all of the old games. Somebody has, so if you want to do emulators, somebody made a bedroom from the 80s that has all the consoles and a TV from the 80s, and you put on the VR, and then you actually take the thing. Now you have to have the ROMs on your own on PC, but it gives you the experience of playing those games on the consoles and TV of the time. And so again, that's like, it's a game, but it's really just an experience, right?
Right.
And I feel like if you were a kid that lived in a house with 4 other brothers and sisters and always had to fight for the TV, or you lived somewhere where you were in an apartment and you had like very little space, I feel like VR for those people will be freedom, right? It'll be this opportunity to have a big screen TV, or to feel like you're in a big field, or to feel like you have a cool bedroom. So I just feel like we're still in the early days. But for me, the second I put that thing on, I was like, inject this into my veins. Like I cannot wait. Like I could see myself 95, 100 years old, just laying in that gurney bed in the hospital with my goggles and my straw. Fuck yeah, any kind of life you want. Even if you can't work. I got 4 Amazon women serving me pina coladas if I want, it's like like that
virtual Amazonians.
That's what I'm saying. Like, think about like what old age is. You can't move and you're usually bedridden. Well, that's a perfect VR use case.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I need to start a business for old people to use VR.
Well, listen, I would like to believe that medical technology is progressing quickly enough that, the people like ourselves, when we're in our 90s, aren't going to be as old as 90 is today. Like, we're not going to be as decrepit and, look, I feel bad saying it like that, but we won't be as frail. Maybe that's the better way to say it. Like, I feel like, we're going to live longer and we'll be healthier, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's 82. I just saw my mom. She came and visited. And I tried to put VR on her the last time she came.
Yeah.
It was just,
how'd that go?
Not good. She just, it's too much. It's too much.
You actually did put it on her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What did she do?
She was just like,
flail around?
She was, it was just too much. He was like, I get what you're trying. And this is what makes me crazy. It's like, I try to introduce my mother to certain things that are outside of her comfort zone. And just the idea of trying them is too much out of the, like, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. And so I feel like I'm going to make her like have like a seizure or something. So I didn't even bring it out this time, but I feel like, that will be like that era 80 to 100. I feel like could be the next wave, right? Like, think about it. There's never really been senior citizen gamers. We're going to be the senior citizen gamers.
Right.
And that's a market. It's going to be a market.
Yeah.
All we're going to have is time.
I was telling somebody this just the other day where I'm like, dude, like, I totally see myself at some point in the future being retired, and it's like I'm just going to finally be able to get to this backlog of games,
right?
And that's going to be what I'll be able to do. I'll be able to like just play Witcher 3 every day, right, and actually play it to completion. You know,
when my dad retired, he just started watching every movie he could find. He would like literally just like, oh, I don't know, start watching movies. Games is the perfect retirement activity because all you got is time. And think about it, like you can have social experiences, even though you might be like how many young people would actually carry on a conversation with an 80-year-old, right? But in a virtual world, they might not know you're 80. And like, yeah, let's go on an adventure together.
Right. You're absolutely right, man. Like it's crazy, man. It'll be interesting. Like, could you imagine if you have like senior only lobbies?
Yeah, that's coming. It's coming. The senior circuit of esports. I bet you we see that in our time.
That would be amazing. Right? You're right, though, because all those pro gamers are getting older.
53. I'm all like literally walking in Vegas. There was a sign that says senior night, 50 and over. I'm like, what? I'm in the senior night already? Derek says VR is overrated.
Yes.
Oh
man. Ricardo says, I'll take virtual handsome dudes.
Right? Like I tell you, there's so much other than gaming going on there, which is again, I think why Apple is so interested. But I don't know who's going to pay $3,000 for an Apple headset. That's a lot of money.
Well, listen, look, Apple people pay that kind of money though for stuff.
Yeah.
I know, so we'll see. They might.
Yeah. And do you have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or just Nintendo?
No, I do have a Series X. I don't have a PS5 yet. Mm-hmm. I'll probably get one. I don't know. So, like, here's the thing. Like, God of War Ragnarok came out, and under normal circumstances, that would be the game that would probably get me to buy a PlayStation 5. But I haven't finished God of War PS4 yet.
Right.
And I literally have my PS4 that is like the God of War the God of War PS4 edition of it. And I'm like, again, it's the backlog where I'm like, I'm not going to buy a new console to buy a new game in a series where I haven't played the last one yet. Like, I'll finish that first at least. And then then we'll see if I get that or not.
I still think that we haven't seen anything that makes me go, wow, you need a PS5 or even a Series X.
No, I agree.
The perfect example is you open up Red Dead Redemption 2 on a PS4 Pro and then fire it up on a PS5. I guarantee you there's no way you're telling me the difference is easily, right? Like, and that game, that's the other thing is like, how are they doing that? Like that game is so incredible and so deep and so real, right? In terms of like all the elements of what makes up the wilderness of that game. And it came out how long ago?
I know.
So long ago. And there are games that are coming out now that can't even touch it. And it's just so weird that they're that far ahead of everybody. Did you see that Rockstar leak when they leaked Grand Theft Auto 6? Did you actually see?
I didn't see it. No, what did it look like?
It looked like Grand Theft Auto 5. didn't look. It was definitely early, but
yeah.
I mean,
And Grand Theft Auto 5 looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong. It's not like it looks bad.
nope.
It's just like I know I can understand though where you're like, well, you kind of hope for a leap, and
Yeah.
but graphically speaking, maybe we're not quite there yet because
Yeah.
like what we know is the engines can make stuff look like reality.
Yeah.
But can they make stuff look like a reality while supporting
Frame
all
rate
of the other
and-
stuff
yeah.
that's happening under the hood? So it's like,
Yeah.
and that's where we're at, where it's like, the technology is there, but
Do you have Xbox Game Pass?
I do have
That's
Game
the greatest
Pass.
thing in gaming, isn't it?
Dude, Game Pass is amazing. It really
Amazing.
is. Like I like, yeah. And what the other thing I was going to
Especially
say
with
too
kids.
though,
Like,
is,
think about it with kids.
oh yeah,
I can just let them try. Like, especially now with the
Oh.
cloud too. You can not even have to install stuff. You just kind of check it out.
Right.
Oh, I like this.
it is amazing. And I will say that from the perspective of like Series X versus like Xbox One or whatever, I do feel like there is differences. It's not, but you're right in the sense that it's not like, oh, how much better the games look, even though the games do look better. I think it's more about the way it performs, like in the sense that like being able to switch between applications and quick starting and all that kind of like that aspect.
I will say the load times are better. Like that's
dude,
what
it's
they've
crazy.
kind of like hung their hat on.
Yeah,
But I don't feel like we've gotten to a point like when you look at like an RTX 4090, that new NVIDIA card, it's $1,800 for the card.
Wow, that's crazy.
$1,800 for just the graphics card. So if you wanted to build a computer around that, you're probably talking like $4,000. Like even that though, what is it doing? Like what are we getting?
Yeah.
You're getting some ray tracing, right? You're getting
right.
I actually have the RTX 3080, and in Warzone, when I play it, I can keep the counter open. And at one point, it was telling me I had 133 frames per second, which is incredible, right?
Right.
But it kind of looked like ass, right? Like I had it. It was at like HD instead of like 4K, right? So I was like, okay, so it's still true. But I'm like, if you're spending $1,900 for a card, that's like 4 PlayStation 5s, right? Like that's the cost of. What are you getting? I feel like we're not. I would like at least with the Oculus, right? You could say, well, what are you getting? You're getting a virtual reality experience. You're inside the game. You can't do that with any hardware, right? You need a virtual reality.
Right.
What is the 4090 versus PS5 versus Xbox Series? Like even the games, there's very few games that it's like you're not playing that unless you have a PS5, right? Like is there anything? I don't think anything, right? So I just feel like we need to get over this hump, but then I feel like, well, what's the next level, right? We got the load times now. We got rid of the Jaggies. What is next?
Right, no more Jaggies.
Well,
although,
if you have a telephone wire, those still sometimes, for some reason, they get jaggy. But like, what is the next thing?
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like what Microsoft is trying to do with Game Pass feels like where like they're trying to push that as like that's the future of gaming. And it's like, they're like, hey, you don't need to buy games anymore. You may not even need the console anymore. You just need the service.
Yeah, the Samsung TVs have Xbox built in. You can just stream
and it's just like, all you're doing is just taking your games from the cloud, and that's all. And you can people keep developing the games, and they just license them. And so, I mean, we'll see if that's what it ends up being, because I like. It's a great idea. I do think that there might be potentially like hiccups from an industry perspective. Like, like people may not be able to make the kind of money they want to make in that world. But, like things change, right? It's almost like how, like, we're not there yet in gaming, but it almost feels like they're trying to do to gaming what ended up happening with music, and obviously it's like music is a whole different thing. And there's a lot less people involved in, from step to step. And so that's, I think, the where the rub comes in. Like if it took as few people to make a game as it does to make music, we probably would already be in a digital distribution era. But because you have like all these people that with all these high end skills that you have to like pay to make a game, it's like, yeah, you can't just mess around and be like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna do just this now. Just, it's like people have to make their money.
So a couple of quick things. We'll wrap it up. It's been 2 hours.
Time flies.
Time flies. The Coleco, what the Amico and Television Amico, is that what it was called? This is Tommy Tallarico's console. What happened to that? Do we know what happened with Tommy Tallarico's console? It was supposedly never released. Like people pre-ordered it, and then and then his dad died. So like in the middle of him trying to fend off all these people claiming that he's scamming them, his dad, who he lived with his dad, like they lived together. They were like,
wow, I didn't know buddies.
That. Yeah, his dad died of cancer, I think, about
That's
6 months ago or something. But I didn't know if anyone in our audience has picked up a ColecoVision Amico or knows that story, and would love to tell us. We'd love to hear it. If you would like to join us for the next time we do one of these, email us, text us, Discord us, and let's have you join us. Also, if you have any questions you want us to answer, I had a few, but I didn't bring them. But I have a few questions that I got by email that people. Really? Yeah. I want to read for people, and then quickly the situation with doing the shows and archives and all that. I have been in a battle for over a year with my landlord of my kitchen, and where Nitropod runs, and it's finally we're moving out. They're selling the whole property, so it's a whole thing. Once I get everything moved out of there and into our new place, and everything has calmed down, I'm going to put a regular schedule together for live streaming and releasing archives. So just know that that's the plan. And if you want to be a part of it, want to get involved at all, just text, email, message, YouTube, and that's it. I watched the Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix. A friend of mine from G4 works for the company that made that documentary. Wow. It is so fascinating how the stock market is so rigged and so fake and so broken. And this guy who was essentially like the distinguished chairman of the stock market, I didn't realize that his Ponzi scheme that he had going, it was $19 billion that he took. They didn't even do any trades. Like I thought that like most people, when you do a scheme, it's like you buy stocks and then if you lose, you kind of hide the losses. They never bought a single stock. They just took the money from people. And then let's say you gave him $1 million, right? You might get 1% a month. So that might be $10,000, right? So you get $10,000 a month. Joe, he put in $50,000. So he might get $50 a month, whatever your percentage disbursement is. So you have money come in, you start to give little bits of money to people who have put in, but then you're constantly raising more money. So they were raising money from people who were investing money for the richest families in England. And one of the guys that had $1.5 billion invested with Madoff committed suicide after the fraud came up because he told these guys, tried to tell him, something's not right. You shouldn't be with them. And they tried to convince him to switch to their brokerage firm. And he was like, no, if this guy isn't legit, I'm a dead man because I have so much royalty money in it. And sure enough, The thing
Wow.
fell apart. And so just my whole point is like the stock market is so rigged, and the people at the top who are supposed to be controlling it and watching out for it, they were told in advance that this guy was running this thing. They gave him evidence. This guy wrote, it was like this autistic accountant who literally wrote every single thing as to why this was a Ponzi scam, and they did nothing. They literally got 4 letters over multiple years, and they just let it collapse. So keep your money out of the stock market.
That's it. The end.
Anything else from you? Anything you want to share? Fantastic Forum is on Wednesdays.
Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Come check us out if you want to talk some nerd stuff, some comic book stuff. We'd love to have you all. So please do that. And go to the YouTube channel.
I want us to get a poker night. Like, I don't know if it's which online poker or something, but it would be fun to do a live stream poker night. So if anyone's interested in poker for All Games prizes, I have all these All Games stuff.
I come to poker night to play poorly.
Yeah, more for us. Just give us your money or your virtual money. All right, Mayor Young, maybe next week?
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, Scott Rubin. Later. Bye, everybody.
Let's see. How do I?
Just end broadcast.
Just end broadcast? I don't have to hit any kind of like...
no, just literally the red button, and they'll just be like, are you sure? And then that's it.